I know Britain is always looking for its next champion, looking for its next hopeful winner. Obviously,
Mm.
Emma Raducanu had the breakthrough winning the U.S. Open. Jack Draper has had this phenomenal grass court lead up, not only winning a title in Stuttgart, a big victory over Carlos Alcaraz. Is he a name you've had your eye on in the past? Obviously, he was a pretty highly touted prospect, and then it felt like injuries got in the way for some time, but he seems so comfortable and dangerous on this surface.
Yeah, Jack's has. I can tell you from experience, Jack is one of the hardest working players you'll meet. There's no stone unturned with Jack. He trains a lot at the National Tennis Centre in Roehampton. I've got friends that work with him a lot, and they're always telling me that this guy invests 100%. Probably might be guilty a little bit at times of wanting it almost too much, finding that balance. Very good junior. Then have
Mm,
a few personal problems as well. Again, in his early days, I think maybe struggled a little bit with the road life. Not sure he entirely loved being on the road. I think that's something we underestimate for professional tennis players. You've got to be a nomad. You've got to love being a nomad because you're never at home. So you've got to have that aspect of, you know what, I like that living out of a hotel room. Not sure Jack did initially love that. I think he's learning to. Um, Fundamentally, I think Jack's game, probably he would be the first to admit as well, was a little bit more of a grinder, if that's the right word, a touch more passive than you need to be these days. He needs to have weapons. We've seen on the grass how much the serve has come on, how many aces he served in the Stuttgart final, 24 or 31, I think it was. He's never had those numbers before.
hmm
Wayne Ferreira coming on board has added something else. I know that was something that James Trotman, his current coach, wanted to do as well. That didn't only come from Jack, that came from James Trotman as well. They wanted to bring on another person on board just to give him that extra 5%. So listen, Jack's got enormous hunger, enormous desire. Probably very hard on himself as well at times. So I think he's developing. It's hard, isn't it, when you've got players like, as he said, like Alcaraz winning majors at 18, 17, 18, 19. You then look at Jack at 21 and say, well, what are you doing? So, everyone has to develop at their own rate. Everyone's got their own path in the sport. There's no one way of doing it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential in Jack, undoubtedly. And hopefully he can deal with the expectation, because there's going to be added expectation this week. He's the flag bearer now for British men, and hopefully he's got in him to be able to cope with that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, being the flag bearer for British men, we should give obviously the due to Andy Murray, who's been an incredible champion and a former world number one. And I have to wonder if he is going to be fit and able. He sounds like he wants to do absolutely everything in his power to give this a go for one final time at Wimbledon. Do you believe he's going to be able to take the court in singles this week?
I think you'd probably have to chain him to the locker room not to see him out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's my opinion. But listen, I'm no medic. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I would be listen. I would be so surprised if we don't see him out there. Obviously in doubles, but uh, I mean, this guy's made a career out of proving everybody wrong week in, week out, and sustaining himself. One of the most stubborn competitors the game's ever seen, maybe sports ever seen. I honestly
Mhm.
believe that. There's very few out there that are cut like Andy is. So yeah, I've got to think that he's going to be ready to go. Well, not ready to go. He's going to go. I can't see how much of a challenge he's going to put out over 5 sets, but it'll be a chance for him to hopefully say goodbye and and see what's next in his career. I think there's a lot to only he knows what's next. But this guy. My a good friend of mine, Mark Pesci, said it very well. He said, "Oxygen. Andy Murray's tennis is oxygen to Andy Murray," and I think that
Mm.
sums it up well. This guy lives and breathes it. Lives and breathes every aspect of it. And having been around some of his former coaches, tennis tennis came first for Andy above anything else. Anything else, it was absolute priority. Like it is, I think, for the very best. It's an obsession. I think it was definitely an obsession for Murray, and goodness me, as he got a trophy cabinet that he should be extremely proud of.